Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with you here today. James, I'm really excited to be talking about the risk and the opportunity because I think there's lots to cover there. But maybe we should just start by briefly introducing our organisations.
Yeah, great. So brilliant to be here as well. Really delighted to be supporting the Blue Earth Summit. What a great event and such energy. So. NatWest is obviously one of the UK's largest bankers. We committed to put climate at the heart of our purpose-led strategy 3 years ago. And from then, we've been driving our business to deliver its ambition of halving the climate impact of its financing by 2030.
Yeah, amazing. And for my part, I'm a partner at Deloitte. Deloitte are a huge organisation. With loads and loads of specialists, and we like to think that we can solve the most complex problems out there. That's what we tell ourselves, that's what we tell our clients. And talking about complex problems, well, the climate and biodiversity emergency is about as complex as we get there. So we've got a real call to arms to do more in this space. And we too have a plan we need to go faster on, and maybe that's something we'll touch as a theme on over the next 20 minutes or so.
Great. And I think we've got a Slido question up here. So if you want to scan the QR code, it'll pop up, and hopefully you'll get a chance to answer the question about where you are in your transition plan, whether you've got one already, or you're committing to one, or you've started to think about it, because that's the topic we're going to pick up on, Mike, and hopefully give you some perspectives on how you take the conversation that's just been had around green finance and then use it for your organization to access green finance and really grow your business to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, amazing. And we have some results. Wow, I'd say that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Maybe we should turn this around and hear from the audience. Maybe rather than questions at the end, we'll do audience insights. Okay, well, I thought maybe the first thing we could talk about, and I offer this as a slightly provocative statement, if we said that the risks and the opportunities around climate change are commercial risks and opportunities, and businesses overwhelmingly understand that, would you agree with that, James?
Well, I think we understand it through the lens that we operate in now, and I think we're all aware that we have climate commitments that we need to deliver, and we know that we need to get to net zero by 2050. But I think the challenge is navigating that route to 2050 and even to 2030, because those are generally longer time horizons than most businesses plan for. And I think also, we look at the world quite often in the relatively short term of our own experience. And when you think about 2050 and how different the world is going to be, or indeed 2030, you start to realize that the system will fundamentally change. Mm-hmm. And as the system changes, we need lots of capital, and we need lots of innovation, and we need lots of businesses to come together and create that future for us. So I think you've got a really good tension between what we know now and what we're going to know in the future. And that, to me, is the essence of the role of business and the role of finance to enable that to happen in a way that is really constructive and productive for everybody.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I guess if you look at the average tenure of an executive, it's maybe 5 or 6 years on average, and executive is halfway through that tenure. That means maybe they have a 3 or 4 year immediate timeline in front of them, and then trying to project that forward, as you say, is kind of a tough ask.
Yeah, and that's why I think starting to think about both the opportunities and the risks, and then codifying them into a transition plan can be so powerful. And work that we've done looking at this opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprise suggests that it's a 175 billion revenue opportunity between last year when we published the report and 2030. So it's a huge opportunity for people to take advantage of. But to do that, I think you need a plan. And we can talk a bit about how to put that plan together and make that useful in accessing capital and accessing the finance that you're going to need to take advantage of the opportunities.
Yeah, great. So I think maybe we should go on to that, because I think the whole vibe of today has already been really focused on the amazing opportunities that sit in this event, and hearing a number put to that is amazing, actually, James. So what might the steps from thought to action then be?
Yeah, well, so for us, and in our climate transition plan, we declared our ambition, halving the climate impact of our financing. We put that at the heart of our purpose-led strategy. And then we started to think about how we're going to operationalize it. And we thought about that in 4 pillars. The first one is getting our own house in order, so reducing our own emissions, our effectively Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, by energy efficiency measures, procuring renewable energy, switching our fleet to electric vehicle cars, and also educating our staff as well and giving them access to a lot of information that our colleagues really can use and deploy in their work and in their lives. And the second part is making sure that we end harmful activity. So we've lent into the exit of oil and gas. We've put our oil and gas majors through credible transition plans to make sure that they are temperature aligned and that what they're doing is consistent with the transition. And as a result of that, we've unwound about £2 billion of lending that we've had. And that's also got us to a position where we're now financing £5.4 worth of renewable investment for every £1 of fossil fuel investment. And that's, according to the Bloomberg New Energy Finance, that's significantly more than anybody else, and roughly where we need to be in 2030 to get to net zero. And the third area is supporting our customers, and we think that's obviously extremely important because we succeed when our customers succeed, and giving them the tools to enable them to do that becomes quite important, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that later on. And then, of course, I think what we all realize, and particularly when you come somewhere like this, that we can't do this by ourselves. You need to get the world together and to build the powerful partnerships that are going to enable the transition. So those are the 4 pillars of our strategy. And then what we did is we took that through our climate-related disclosures report, which was built on our TCFD report, a lot of sort of acronyms there, but and inserted a climate transition plan. And the climate transition plan shows how we deliver our science-based targets that have been validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative on a sector-by-sector basis. And it also shows the challenges we've got around data. So a lot of the data that we're gathering at the moment isn't as reliable as it would like to be. And we publish that through the PCAF, Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, scores, and we're looking to improve those scores over time so that we can really understand the sector emissions, but also the counterparty emissions that we've got through each of the customers that we work with.
Great. So what I'm hearing is a nice, simple, or a structure with 4 pillars, but in each of those you had some measurement. You had some specifics that you're able to track against. Yeah, no,
absolutely. And I think again, making those transparent is really important. So the disclosure that comes around it, and the consistent way in which we engage with a multitude of stakeholders, but also I think really looking to increase ambition as well, so that we know where we are now, but as we talked about earlier, we know we have to increase that ambition over time. So, and that I think lines quite nicely with the whole concept of the Paris Agreement, which is this concept of the ratchet. Every country is supposed to increase its level of ambition over time. In the same way, if businesses can do the same thing, then we get an alignment, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for an alignment between policy through government, the investors in our business, which are our shareholders and fund managers. A lot of those are pension funds. The work that we do as a bank, and then how we get our capital to flow to the real economy, where the magic happens, where we see loads of these brilliant businesses coming up with fantastic ideas.
Yeah, sounds great. And from Deloitte's perspective, we can only count up to 3, so we've only got 3 parts to our plan. But it's sort our own house out, similar to your point. So we similarly have a net zero target, similarly signed off by SBTi. It's educate our people and make sure that we play a role in educating our clients around the risks and opportunities that we face. And then similarly, there's a point around building the ecosystem and believing that we can have a convening power and a power that finds solutions at the intersection of climate change, biodiversity, finance, technology that produce a net win for all dimensions.
Yeah, and that sort of stakeholder view becomes really important, and we know that by using our capital in a responsible way, we're building stronger communities. We're giving our retail customers, families, and our businesses the money that they need and the insurance that they need in order to do great things in a responsible way as well.
So James, for those listening, hopefully we've said some interesting things about the thinking, about turning the thinking into a plan, but then the challenge is why you need one. Why do you need a plan?
Yeah, well, I think, so again, if you think about the consequence of us making the commitments that we're making, it means that we need to reduce the carbon on our balance sheet, which means that we align our interests with our customers' interests. So the first thing we want to do is give customers information that enables them to understand their carbon footprint and their impact on nature and biodiversity today, and then start to build a plan that reduces that over time. So we've called that, not overly imaginatively, Carbon Planner. And you can see out there a kiosk with Carbon Planner emblazoned all over it. And it's just a really useful tool to get people started on that whole complex journey of measurement. And then once you've got the measures in place, we can have a conversation about how we can help finance your plans. So if you're trying to reduce your emissions through installing solar panels or energy efficiency measures, we've got lending products that quite often are at a discount to enable you to access that capital so that you can make those investments. And we think that's going to make you a more resilient business. It's going to give you a longer growth potential. That's good for our customers, but it's also good for us because we then have less risk on our balance sheet as well. So as we produce our transition plan, we can look to our customers' transition plans to understand what they're going to do and how they're going to execute their ambitions as well, and bring that all together in a really nice way that deepens the relationship between us as a provider of finance and the businesses as a user of finance.
Okay, so there's a synergy for both parties, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. And there's some great examples of where we're doing that, whether it's accelerating the finance going out to offshore wind, or whether it's blue bonds that we've been doing with Ørsted, the energy company. And these are really, really great innovations that our teams and colleagues have been working on.
Great. So one last question, and then maybe see if we've got time for any for the audience. Given this is the Blue Earth Summit, I feel we should take it specifically back to the marine environment and to nature and biodiversity. That's harder, though, isn't it?
Well, I think carbon's hard, but at least you've got a measure, which is carbon dioxide. It's not necessarily always accurate, but it is. We know that if we reduce carbon dioxide produced, ultimately we'll reduce the parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So we can see that linkage very clearly. Nature and biodiversity is more complicated because there are a whole suite of measures, whether it's reduced deforestation, whether it's marine protection, whether it's air quality, all of these, biodiversity, all of these link to nature and biodiversity. So what we've done is we've developed a nature and biodiversity strategy. We've appointed a head of nature and biodiversity, and we're looking to replicate some of the things that we've done on climate into the nature and biodiversity space. So, end harmful activity, get our own house in order, help our customers, and build powerful partnerships as well. And I think that's a really exciting part of the agenda going forward. I think the marine side is really interesting. I was brought up by the sea, so I feel a very strong affiliation to the sea, and the data that we were talking about this earlier that we look at around the oceans is terrifying. And I think we all have a responsibility to do our best to make sure that we protect the oceans and to create good ecosystems for marine health and the prospering of the ocean, because the ocean looks after us. Without the ocean, we'll lose the Gulf Stream, and that will have really severe consequences for us all.
It is, and I suppose the moment of optimism is the best opportunities often sit in the places that you've looked least. And as we start to look at the nature and the marine environment, I'd say that's absolutely the case.